Welcome to episode number 64 of the Between Two Brands podcast. I'm your host, Bill Petrie. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy our guest is here. I'm happy it's April. But before we get into the episode, let's go ahead and pay the rent, shall we? There's a whole ton of good coming out from our friends at Bell Promo these days. Here's just a few. Lowest minimums in the industry? Yeah, you can Bell Promo that. How about the deepest inventory around? Oh, you can totally Bell Promo that. 5-star, A+ service? Oh, yeah, you can Bell Promo that. How about 2-day production on most of their inventory? Yeah, you can absolutely Bell Promo that as well. And if that weren't enough, and honestly, really should be, shouldn't it? The good folks at Bell Promo have a few other things to share. Made in the USA merchandise? Yeah, you can Bell Promo that. How about free shipping on tech and apparel products? Yeah, you can Bell Promo that too. Head over to bellpromo.com to see all of their amazing products and feel confident that when your client asks you to create branded merchandise that's available with low minimums, 2-day production, you can tell them, yeah, you can Bell Promo that. All right. As I'm kind of thinking, it might become a monthly thing on the opening shot. The industry quick hits. I think there's always some things in the industry we should discuss. This is a merchandise industry podcast, so let's go ahead and discuss them, shall we? Just a couple quick things. I'm not sure I'm going to give an opinion. I'm not sure I'm not. Who knows? A private equity firm, Forge 52, take majority stake in another large supplier and logo mark. This is no shock. This happens all the time. It's always interesting to see what transpires after everything closes and how things change, sometimes for the good, sometimes not for the good. A couple people found new places in which to ply their particular trade. Scott Nussenow, formerly of Artwork Services, is now the VP of Sales at Flows Staffing. And Scott's a friend. Scott's a friend of the show. And I know he's going to do great things there. He did some really wonderful things at AWS, and I can't wait to see what he does at Flows Staffing. Dale Dunham, former president and CEO of PPAI, and did some time at Extendtech, has found a new home as the Chief Information Officer at I Promote You. I think that's a great fit. I think that's going to be something Dale does exceptionally well. Lori Bauer and her team have built a great team, and I think Dale's going to be a tremendous addition to that. And then finally, let's talk about the rebranding of American Solutions for Business. I always love a good rebranding, and this is, in my opinion, a very, very good one. Interesting that they did it on their 45th anniversary. Usually you do things like that. If you're going to do it, tie it to an anniversary. It's a even decade one. It's a 40th, 50th, something like that. Interesting that they did it in year 45. But I will tell you, if you've seen it, it is super clean, and I love the new color spectrum. Legacy Navy, Spark Teal, and their accent color is Ember Clay. And what I really liked about it, they kept the iconic star that the logo has been known for decades, while modernizing the font and integrating it into the font in a really, in my opinion, a very eye-catching way. So, kind of brief. Those are some industry quick hits. What did I miss? What should we be talking about? I don't know. Figuring this out as I go. But you know what? Who's not figuring it out is our good friends over at Certified Marketing Consultants. Many people know how to build a business, but few understand not only when to sell that business, but the process involved to ensure that you have the right partner to maximize the return on your investment. And honestly, that's where you need an expert, especially one in the promotional products industry. And that's where our good friends at Certified Marketing Consultants come in. Jamie Watson and her team have decades of experience facilitating private company sales in the branded merchandise space. Now, to help you evaluate if it's time to sell your business, reach out to CMC at info@certifiedmarketing.com for a confidential discussion today. All right, let's go ahead and gig 'em. Bring on our guest. Hey, gig 'em, hullabaloo. We have a great guest today. She doesn't need an introduction, but you know what? I feel like wasting your time like most of the students who went to the University of Texas. So let me go ahead and introduce her anyway. She is the proudest member of the Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2004. Delete and tweak away. Oh, that's the part she told me I could edit her bio. Anyway, ignore that. She's the Chief Revenue Officer at SnugZ USA. She's spent more than 2 decades. That's not one, that's not three, that's two. In the promotional products industry, collaborating on marketing campaigns and merch from small scale to global merchandising with her partners. She served on the Promotional Products Association International Board of Directors from 2016 to 2020 and serving as the chairwoman of the board in 2019 and various other committees throughout the year. She is a PPAI fellow and was awarded the 2023 PPAI Woman of Achievement. Her involvement in the promotional products industry has landed her many advisory boards and various committees across many industries. She's a member of the IWF, the International Women's Forum, and is a certified yoga teacher. And most importantly, she is a fighting Texas Aggie, gig 'em good, good bull, no bad bull here. Please join me in welcoming the lovely and talented Brittany David.
What's up, Bill, my fellow Aggie?
I love it. I love it. I really realized, I should have put on that Aggie hat, and I thought about it, but I didn't obviously pull the trigger on it. You did. Thank you. I think, other than me, you're the only Aggie that's ever been on this podcast. So you're breaking new ground.
Yeah, I'm going to tear it up.
You're going to tear it up. So I want to talk about your industry journey. I want to know how you found this weird industry, because it is a weird industry. And then you started off as a service provider at Sage for like 5 years, and then you went on the supplier side to Snug. So I want to hear what that transition was like.
Ooh, I did. So I went to school at A&M and graduated with a degree in speech communications and psychology.
Oh, I only did the speech communications. Hell yeah. Speech com grads unite.
Yep. And then back when I used to be young, to find a job if you didn't graduate with one, which, like, unless you were in engineering, I feel like everybody graduated and went, what do I go do now?
Yeah.
Did you look on like Monster? And I had no clue what I wanted to do or what I wanted to find. So I went back to DSL engineering at Verizon, doing ones and zeros on new fiber to the premise lines when that was actually a new thing. And then got into event planning at the Gaylord Texan, which is where Sage used to hold their then map show.
Okay. Yeah, I remember those.
Anatole. Yeah, you probably went to several of those.
Perhaps. I wish we knew.
And then my hotel journey somehow connected me to the Natinskys and a job over at Sage when they were looking for kind of someone to work on event planning and stuff over there. So I happened and this is back when like Google was barely even a thing. So you think about like trying to explain Google, and then you try to explain the industry, which no one really might understand a little better now. Definitely didn't understand then.
Maybe understands a little better now, perhaps.
And then you try to explain what Sage did. So in this industry that no one understands, where you have these people who subscribe, but you can't subscribe unless you're part of the club. Like, it was this weird kind of enigma of a company that I said, well, it seems like it's pretty cool and great people. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I guess I'm looking for something else. And fortunately, it worked for a while and it was awesome. And then, 5 years into it, I came to work for Snug. So I've been in, like you said, for about 20 years now. So 15 years at Snug's wild. And the shift, I would say, is now I think my friends and family mostly understand what I do versus what I did at Sage.
Good, because nobody I know has any clue what I do. They think, oh, so you like host a podcast and make money through that? I'm like, you're joking, right? Because no.
No, I think it was a few years ago, and I've told them this since, that there was a commercial when Form Print first started airing their commercials. My parents are like, oh, so is this one of your competitors? I was like, oh,
that's
so
cute.
close. So close. So
cute. It does help, though. As much as everybody loves to decry Foreign Print for advertising on television, hey, I think it's great for our industry. It really helps people understand the value of what we do. I actually think it's great.
I do too. The exposure for people who buy the product to a company that is massive, that shows product to get awareness on you can buy product is, I think, a pretty big win to have that exposure in general.
Everybody's industry journey is so funny. Mine is, I'm not going to go into the details of mine, but my first job out of college, because I struggled to find a job. I graduated in 93. I was supposed to graduate in 92, but there was a point where Texas A&M invited me to pursue academic excellence elsewhere for a semester. And it was an offer I couldn't refuse. Like literally, I couldn't say no. So after a short stint at Collin County Community College, I came back, got my degree, but I had a speech comm degree, very questionable grades. I sold I sold temporary help. Um, Went door to door, 30 cold calls a day selling temporary help. So yeah, I get the weirdness there. When I think of your time at SnugZ, and you've been there a while, to me, you are SnugZ, you and Brandon and Steve Rohn and Kathy. Those are the people I think of when I think of SnugZ. It's not always easy. It's not always rainbows and lollipops. And I think when I look back, one of your defining moments as an organization was when you guys were so transparent about the challenges of bringing on Suida. Why were you guys so transparent? Because honestly, to me, it was very refreshing. Most companies, when bad things happen, are like, we need to hide as much of this shit under a bushel as we can. And you guys took the exact opposite approach.
Yeah, I would say the group you mentioned in SnugZ in general is pretty transparent. And so,
You think?
yeah, and one of our core values is do what's right, have some integrity. And I think that resonates. And we screwed up a lot of things. Like if we were to go back and redo things, there are so many things we would have done differently. But like Brandon says, education is expensive.
Mhm.
And sometimes you learn by going through things. And I think we did a lot of things right. I think there are a lot of things behind the scenes that you can't go cry and give a sob story for that set us up for some interesting challenges to have to navigate that we weren't expecting. But yeah, coming out of it, I think we finally got to a point where we're like, yeah, we are ready. Like we've cleaned up the stuff. We know we
Mhm.
messed up. We're so sorry that we messed up these things, right? And we're ready to be back and just kind of have not necessarily a public apology, but a public acknowledgement of like, we're
Yeah.
not perfect and we didn't do everything right, but like we'd love the grace to be able to serve you and serve you better.
Well, like I said, I thought to me, it was like this master class in managing something that didn't go well because I sat on the side when I was back in my Halo days. I was part of the acquisition team. And I don't care how long you plan. I don't care how many months you wait. There's never a perfect time. There's always stuff you didn't think about. There's always stuff that's going to go wrong on day one. And to see you guys acknowledge it, hey, mea culpa, we're moving forward. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're fixing it. It was really, really refreshing, especially in an industry where we sometimes tend to not be so open to collaboration and communication, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny too. Our COO Justin was in my office the other day, and we every once in a while we go back and torture ourselves on the horror stories of the behind the scenes. Then we had
Yeah.
some good laughs, but all of a sudden you start to get a little itchy and all of that. But yeah, I don't know if you've got
I,
a great team and you figure out how to move forward. Like you hope that I mean this industry is so small, even though it's so big. You hope that when you're back on track, you've got people supporting you and that you can do better to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you know Terry McGuire from Halo, and he and I are very close friends. And we went through the bankruptcy together at Halo in 2001 through 2003, and we have lunch every year at Expo, and we'll end up talking about it. We both get a little, we're good. Let's not talk too much about that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So you also served on the PPAI board, and in my mind, you brought a lot of youth and certainly a female perspective to your time as not only being on the board, but as board chair. I want to know what your experience was like, what your biggest success you think was looking back, and maybe what was your biggest missed opportunity leading the board?
Great questions. It's so funny because I was on the board, I guess, my past year was 6 years ago, which feels like an eternity,
It
which
does. The pandemic has a bad habit of stretching time.
right? And
Mhm.
so I would say I started, I think, my freshman year on the board 11 years ago, which I was
Wow.
still, but yeah, I mean, I was young, I was baby 30s. But one of the, I don't know that I have a list like, me, I don't keep track of like, were
No, but
the,
I didn't know if there was anything that sticks out when you say, I'm thinking about when you think about your board time.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out is so my chair year was in 2019, which was freaking glory days, right? Like right
Yeah,
before the pandemic. We were all about engagement and how do we add more member value aside from like a Sage membership, which is a tremendous amount of value, but what else is the association doing,
right.
to really drive that home? And then we had an awesome expo in 2020. And then like a month later is when the goodies came.
Yeah, things
And
happened.
yeah, and I would say one of the things that stuck out, and it's funny because when people ask, what is the commitment on the board, and you're like, well, especially in the beginning, you meet like once every couple of months or quarter, and you have a couple of in-person meetings, and blah blah blah. The last year, I mean, we were on calls not only every week, but multiple times a week, especially on the executive committee to talk about, you know, what do
Anything,
we
everything.
not only what is going on with COVID and what could that mean, but like, how do we support members? Where does PPAI play into that? Are we going to have a trade show? The trade show, aside from Sage, is the biggest revenue generator.
It's the bake
Yeah.
sale.
It is. And so going through all of that, I think was just a critical year going into truly strategy for the association and the members of you also have an opportunity to figure out who you want to be on the other side and what are the changes you would make or the opportunities moving forward. So I don't know, that one COVID always sticks out in my brain, right? Like it's the thing that you try to put
I,
back here but jumps
I,
right.
I, and I think as we look back on that time, we will look back on COVID as the biggest opportunity we all had to either rise to the occasion or just stick your head in the sand. I look back and, I started Brandivate in July of 2020, not with my kids entering their senior year of high school. Not the smartest decision I've ever made, but maybe it was. So
Yeah.
I took an opportunity to be bold, and it's worked out so far. But I mean, I know a lot of people are just kind of like, man, I'm sticking my head in the sand and just I hope this all goes away. And you can't live life like that.
No, it was a huge opportunity for people to innovate and take a risk. And for some, I think
Absolutely.
it paid off really well. And for others, they don't get to tell the great story. But
Well, and I remember, because it was Expo at Home in 2021. And
mhm.
I thought that, difficult to pull off. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was it just as good as being in person? No. But it was, for what it was fantastic. And it was an effort. Again, we look back, I really think you look back at the pandemic, it was an opportunity to get super creative and reinvent everything.
Mhm. I remember, so in 2020, we had an alpaca and a llama at our
Yeah.
booth at
Oh gosh.
Expo. And then the next year, we ran this sad little video feed of one of our employees' friends who had a farm with a llama that just played guitar all day with the llama kind of to and fro because we didn't understand, what were we going to create out of this opportunity? And it was our
Right.
kind of like, well, there
That's
you go.
awesome. It's awesome. So we're entering show season this summer. So, and I don't want to get you in any trouble. We love all our distributors. We love all our regional shows. We all love everything. That being said, suppliers have an incredible demand on their time, their resources, their budgets. How do you manage that?
It's hard and it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And so I don't know. I mean, we definitely look in general of how are we spending our dollars? What are the opportunities we're creating? And even internally, how are we following up to maximize what that is? Because being in person is one piece of it, but also the responsibility to have action afterwards is how do we, and
Right.
to your point of like, how much time do we have to be able to follow up on leads or create what we need
Right.
to? And are you overstretched and overcommitting because you're too present in the moment of shows, and not able to execute on the back end? So it's a balancing game, and it's hard because things are more expensive in general, right? I know hotel blocks are more
Oh
expensive,
yeah.
meeting space is more expensive. We can't negotiate those contracts. I think people expect more in person, especially for some of our national shows of, well, this person's doing this, so we have to do more because somebody else expects this, and the price keeps going up. It's hard. And I
Yeah.
think it's hard to say we're looking at it both from a business perspective and a relationship perspective because we know this business is based on relationships, but you can't do everything. And I
Yeah.
think one of the hardest parts is saying no when people are like, why aren't you there? Like
Yeah.
it's not that you stink or that we don't have the money to support you, but sometimes there's a no, and it's just as tough to make the decision as it is
Yeah.
giving.
I got to believe it is. I mean, I remember last year there was one week where two large distributors had their national sales meeting, and a buying group had one of their things same week, and it's just like, how do you have a little more advantage because you've got a larger company, but how do like smaller suppliers even try to navigate this financially, personnel, everything?
I wonder a lot of times because I mean, we're a pretty large supplier and it's
Yeah,
expensive for us. And I look at smaller suppliers on how they can afford a lot of these and the decisions they have to make because it's not as if you get a discount when your revenue numbers are half as much or a quarter as much.
right. Right. And then it's not just paying for the travel and the hotel, that it's the bar bills at the end. It's just it's hard. I just wanted to ask that. I think that's so interesting. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the good that SnugZ does, that you guys do, especially through the Wounded Warrior Project. Why is it so important to you guys?
Think in general, doing good and giving back has always been in the SnugZ ethos. And I
Hmm.
think there's so many people who are very humble at SnugZ that don't talk about all of the things they do privately. And there's a bunch of people, at whatever position that do a ton for their church volunteering, or you've got Steve Rohn, who like you walk by a homeless person and most people are like, they are sticking out their hand and
Not
whatever.
Roan.
Steve Rohn pulls out $1, a $5 bill, a $20 bill, whatever. And I remember having a conversation with him of like, do you care what they do with the money? Like so many people like, oh, they're just going to go. He's like, no, man, like whatever it is.
Not for me to say, not for me to
Exactly.
judge.
And people who just spend tons of hours volunteering. So I think part of what was interesting to us, even in that suite acquisition, was the relationship they had with Wounded Warrior Project and the base camp line. It just it's a great way to do good by doing good and giving back. It's a little bit more formal, where for us, we're like, how do we create a program that doesn't feel good to us because we're behind the scenes doing good? We're not
Right,
in front of the camera telling everybody we're doing good. So
right.
it's incredible. They've got an incredible team at Wounded Warrior Project. Dan Nevins is a freaking stud who so
Yeah,
many
he is.
people know. I mean, it's just such a great organization to be able to give back to and to get our customers. I
Yeah.
mean, we do our carry forward and you support it every year, whether it's through
Every year.
Steve, through me. I mean, it's a fun way to rally our team together and rally our friends. So
I love it. It's a great partnership you guys have, and it's something I think we all should highlight. So we're both refugees from Texas. What do you
it's,
miss most about the Lone Star State?
oh my gosh, I miss Chewy's. I miss
Oh,
Chewy's so
we
much.
have we have a Chewy's here in Tennessee now.
We don't have one in Utah and it stinks.
I could list a lot of things you don't have in Utah that stink.
Fair, fair. And I also, man, I miss going to like Rangers games and Mavs games and
Yeah.
Cowboys games and being able to make the 3 hour trek to College Station and
Yeah.
do an Omni game. That's the sports, the food, and some of the live music. Although Salt Lake's getting a little tail end when people go to
Okay.
California on the music side. But man, sports and food.
So what was your greatest Texas A&M football experience? Was it last year at Notre Dame? Please tell me it was last year at Notre Dame.
Oh, it was insane. And I got to go with my cousin who also went to A&M. We had a blast and they were so friendly and so nice. And that upset at the end was just absolutely
It
insane.
it
It,
was delicious. And by the way, the rest of this podcast will be discussing A&M. So if you're done, go ahead and click off now. I will tell you. So Brittany and I have known each other for 15 years, long time. We almost never talk. We never text, except from August 31st until the last A&M football game. And on Saturdays, we are mental patients because we will just sit there and text. She will not even watch the game and call me and say, okay, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. I'm just driving around. I can't deal with it. I mean, that is how insane we are as fans because we are built to be heartbroken.
I know. I remember this last year. There was 2 minutes left. I'm trying to remember if it was the Mississippi State game or which one it
I
was,
think it
but
was South Carolina, wasn't it?
it was South Carolina,
Yeah.
and I went downstairs. I got in my car and I drove around the parking lot because I could not watch the last 2 minutes. And it
Yeah.
was like needing updates from you so I could go back and rewatch it. But
Yeah.
man, I know I love to hate it. And now
I,
we're at one seed going into March Madness, which of course means we're probably going to win it all. you know?
Yeah, so just to transparency, we're recording this a couple weeks before it drops. So tomorrow, as we're recording this, Texas A&M will play St. Mary's at 6:30 p.m. on True TV. Not that I'm going to be watching, I will. So either when this podcast drops, we're going to be super happy or super sad.
Yeah. So who did you pick to go to the finals?
Texas A&M.
I do that every year. And
Me
this year
too.
I picked Illinois and Arkansas, which also is probably just as wacky and unbelievable. But
You know what? I just all I want is joy and happiness in Aggie land, and so even though the year didn't end great for football, lost to University of Texas, didn't play well, and actually played pretty well in the Miami game considering how well they did the rest of the playoffs. It was still a really good year. I mean, I told people if you had told me at the beginning of the year you're going to win every game except you're going to lose the University of Texas, which does suck, and you're going to go to the college football playoffs and lose, I would have been fine with that. Year
yeah,
two of Mike Elko, absolutely.
they were so electric. I
They
love those
were. They
kids. It
were.
was a fun season.
Oh, before we go, I was just handed something. Hold on. This is a Texas rapid fire, Brittany. So I have some questions for you. There
Uh-oh.
are no wrong answers. I'm just going to give you two things. You have to pick one though, okay? And this is about Texas. Number one, Bluebell or Brahms?
Bluebell.
Agreed. Brahms has some good stuff, but I would go Bluebell. Dallas or Houston?
Oh, Dallas, no question. Houston
Correct.
is garbage.
Houston might be the worst city in America. And I've spent a memorable portion of my life in Newark, New Jersey, and Atlantic City. So I'm saying that with a high degree of confidence.
I love you, Houston friends.
I do too. I love all the people in Houston. But as a city, here's an idea some zoning. Might work out. Whataburger or Dickey's barbecue?
Whataburger. Whataburger over all else.
1000%. Dickey's is actually kind of garbage barbecue, so don't go there. It doesn't represent our state very well. And I live in Franklin, Tennessee, and just a mile from my house that way, they just opened up. Oh, there's the dumb my camera. If I do some certain facial gestures, it zooms in. If you're watching, you got a creepy close up of me. Anyway, right over a mile from my house, they opened up the In and Out south or east or whatever it is headquarters, and they opened up right by my house, and I won't go. I just on principle because I know it's not good.
You know what? I was born in California, and so In and Out is also close to my heart.
I can understand that. Fritos or Dr. Pepper?
Oh, Dr. Pepper.
Agreed. Look at you're doing great. Liquid paper or 7-Eleven? Two things that have nothing to do with each other.
Neither. Who
But
uses
both,
Hideout and who goes to the gas
you
station
know,
getting
it was a
gas?
stretch. It was a stretch for that one. So here's a tough one. Frozen margarita, invented in Texas, or Shiner Bock?
Ooh, I love Shiner Holiday, but I will take a frozen margarita whenever you want to.
Yeah, I got out of the habit. I used to have a really good habit of sending you a sixer or a 12 pack of Shiner Cheer every year because it is the best beer, and I need to get back to doing that. I'd send her that and Whataburger spicy ketchup, which is the only ketchup anyone needs.
Yeah.
American Airlines or Southwest Airlines?
Delta.
American Airlines or Southwest Airlines? Yeah, you live in Salt Lake City, so you have to.
Only answer was American, but I will Delta to the day I die now.
I get that. All right, two other things that were invented in Texas: Barney the purple dinosaur,
What?
or really large, gaudy homecoming mums.
Oh, mums. I love the mums. They only
I,
get bigger.
I have a picture of me as a senior in high school holding this mum. I think it probably cost me $40 at the time, which would be like 200 now. Man, they're rough.
I never got a mum. I
Really?
never, I was a cheerleader and was on the sidelines. I never went to homecoming and got a mum. It's all right.
If I had a heart, it would have just broken. Corn dogs or fajitas?
Oh, vaginas.
I love fajitas too. I agree. All right, last one. This is probably going to be the toughest one. The Texas A&M Aggies or the Longhorns from that little school in Austin?
Hullabaloo, connect, connect, hullabaloo, connect,
That's
connect.
goodbye to
Goodbye,
Texas University. So
University.
long to the orange and the white. All right, I love it. Brittany, is there anything you wanted to talk about before we said goodbye?
No, it's so good to see you.
It's so good
Good
to
to
see you. Before we do say goodbye, I want to give a huge thanks to our friends over at Bell Promo for sponsoring this fine broadcast. When you're looking for the lowest minimums, deepest inventory, 5-star and A+ service, you know you can Bell Promo that. Brittany, thank you so much. I love you to death. You're one of my favorite people. Thank you so much. And we will see you soon, somewhere.
See you soon.